Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got the Georg Jensen bent Dublin here for you today. Hadn't had this guy out for a while, and I have to say, I think, boy, just look at this guy, by the way. Just love the look of this pipe. I think that one of the people we're talking about today would really enjoy this pipe. So as always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. Now, what I'm excited to find out about on this video is what I am going to say. You see, now, Steve, you're the one saying it. Shouldn't you know what you're going to say? And the answer is no. I know the topic for these videos, obviously, but I really rarely, if ever, think through what I'm going to say. I certainly am not working off of a script, so it's as exciting for me as I hope it is for you. And I'm particularly excited on this one because the last time I did one like this, I was surprised in maybe not the most pleasant way. I had done an episode a while back, on Bloom County, the comic strip. Was popular in the 80s, and I remembered loving it very much. Brought it out, looked at some stuff with you guys, and I don't know, as I was looking at it, I wasn't sure it was as funny as I remembered. Now, I'm quite confident that this is as funny as I remember, and I am talking about none other than Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin is the little boy. Hobbes is his stuffed tiger who comes to life in his imagination. I loved Calvin and Hobbes. And I can't believe I've only got the one collection of Calvin and Hobbes cartoons, or comic strips, but there you have it. Calvin was always getting into crazy adventures, had a marvelous imagination, and Hobbes would dutifully go along in his adventures, but would offer some amusing critique on his pals' ideas. For example, let's see if we can find here. Okay. Here's one. Calvin is actually talking to his dad here. And he says, "Hi, Dad, I'm repeating everything anyone says." Dad, "Oh, you are you?" Calvin, "Oh, you are you?" Dad, "Knock it off, Calvin. That's very annoying." Calvin, "Knock it off, Calvin. That's very annoying." Dad, "I forfeit all my desserts for a week." Calvin, "Okay, give them to me." Dad, "Haha, why don't you go bother your mother for a while?" Well, most of it involved the tiger. Okay, here we go. Here's Calvin and Hobbes. And Calvin has attached feathers to himself. He's shouting at a little bird. In the first panel, he says, "Wipe that grin off your face." So he goes to Hobbes, and Hobbes is swinging on a swing here. Calvin says, "Well, Hobbes, how do I look?" Hobbes says, "I'm doing my best to bite my tongue." Calvin says, I cut out construction paper feathers and taped them on my arms so I could fly. Pretty neat, huh?" Then the next part of the strip, they're walking along here, and Hobbes says, if paper feathers are all it takes to fly, don't you think we'd have heard about it before? Calvin says, it takes an uncommon mind to think of these things, Hobbes. Hobbes says, I'd agree with that. Okay, first question. Do you know how hard it is to smoke a pipe while you're laughing? I think it's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Uh, uh, oh my goodness. Oh, so here's one where apparently Calvin had lost. Let's see. I want to read. I want to read this one here in the middle to you here. Calvin apparently had lost Hobbes. He'd lost him while he was out playing, and you can see in that Hobbes is indeed a stuffed animal, right? So apparently Calvin had lost Hobbes while he was out playing, and couldn't get sleep that night. So mom and dad go out, or no, sorry, dad goes out looking for him. Dad comes back in. Mom, is that you? Did you find Hobbes? It's almost midnight. Dad, yeah, I got him. He was out there with the toboggan. Mom plants a kiss on Dad. Oh, honey, thank you. Calvin will be so happy. Dad, he'd better be, or tomorrow I'll leave him in the woods. Mom takes Hobbes upstairs. She says, come on, we'll put Hobbes in Calvin's bed so he'll see him first thing tomorrow. And then in the last panel, you can see she's looking at him there. There's Hobbes and Calvin all snuggled up. And she says, he's snuggled up in his sleep. What a little angel. Dad says, only at night. I'm going to bed. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Now this, I'll read one more and we'll talk about this. So here's one. So you see, here we go. Oops, there we go. So Calvin and Hobbes are out there in the yard. Hobbes is in the swing. Calvin's all excited. Hobbes, did you hear? Mom and Dad are taking us camping. We get to live in a tent and go fishing and canoeing. Won't that be fun? We'll be roughing it, living off the land. No TV or radio or... Uh-oh. Hobbes says, what's wrong? Calvin, this sounds suspiciously like one of Dad's plots to build my character. So, do you know... Here's some people on the trail in the woods behind us. Do you know Calvin and Hobbes? Did you read Calvin and Hobbes back in the day? Now, I've thought about this before. Comedy does not seem to hold up as well over time as tragedy, and that's maybe a topic for a whole different time. I think, oh, and by the way, I said one of the characters would really enjoy his pipe. I think Calvin would think his pipe was very, very cool. And I don't remember anything about his dad ever smoking a pipe, but I could see Calvin finding one of his dad's pipe and then walking around the house and pretending to be Sherlock Holmes or something and getting Hobbes involved. I mean, that just seems like a Calvin and Hobbes sort of plot. But at any rate, when I think about ancient plays, the tragedies are in many ways, I think about some of the Greek tragedies, you think about Aeschylus, you think about Sophocles, you think about Euripides. And I think they tend to hold up better than, say, maybe some of the comedy of Aristophanes or the Roman comedy of Plautus and Terence. And I've thought about this over time with television shows as well. A notable exception is Andy Griffith's show, continues to hold its charm and humor. But I feel that a lot of like the Dick Van Dyke Show, for some reason to me, isn't as funny over time. And one of the things about comedy, I think a lot of comedy is very topical, it's very timely, and when that passes, it's just, you don't have the point of reference. But Calvin and Hobbes, to me, as you saw, still strikes my funny bone. And I hadn't read that in years. Well, I find it absolutely hilarious. I find Calvin, his wisdom and creativity for a little boy, I think, are absolutely hilarious. His long-suffering dad. But most of all, it's Hobbes's comments. He puts on the feathers as a bird and says, I can fly. I was like, if all it took to fly was to put paper feathers on, don't you think we'd have heard of this by now? And Calvin says, it takes an uncommon mind to think of these, Hobbes. And Hobbes says, oh, I agree with that. Absolutely love that. So, tell me what you think about Calvin and Hobbes. I certainly, obviously, still enjoy it. I don't remember if I asked this the last time, but I'll ask it this time anyhow. What comic strips, newspaper comic strips, have you really enjoyed over the years? I certainly enjoyed Beetle Bailey and Blondie and Hager the Horrible, BC. I'm probably dating myself on a lot of those because those go way back. But anyhow, really enjoyed those. Love to hear what you think. Folks, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ago ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.